Hi, I'm Gretchen from Retreat House, and I'm really pleased to be here with Reginald, who is going to tell us about his poem and read his poetry. We're so pleased to have him as a new author in the House of Book series. So the first thing, Reginald, would you just share with us how you got connected to Retreat House?
Well, I got connected to the Retreat House. I'm meeting this very wonderful person, Reverend Layla, as I love to call her. And she had facilitated the sessions that I attended when I started this new journey on spiritual direction and spiritual formation. And so she was one of the lecturers, and then I stayed. I did the additional courses with Perkins School of Theology. And then as a result of that, I'm in supervision with a group with her. And we were having a session one night during this time of anxiety and fear. And I was just led to share this poem. Now, this poem came to me because in my journey over the last 5 years, I taught about and hold things like contemplative prayer, silent meditation, silent retreats, and I had participated in some of those sessions. And so this was a walk on the beach one morning, and I was just being spoken to, and the whole growing of intuition and mindfulness awareness is really what led to me starting to write, starting to know that there's a connection in nature with me, and that nature speaks and God speaks. And God speaks in the calm, God speaks in the wind, and then God speaks in the silence. Mm-hmm. And as I grew in those things, I started to write, because it was really, Gretchen, like I'm hearing words being spoken to me. And I would rush quickly for a pen and a paper, and I would write. And in this case, it was my tablet, because I got up early and I said I would go to welcome the rising sun and just allow the waves on the shore to bathe my feet and to feel the sun. And so I went out this morning for this walk, and this is when these words were spoken to me. And as I said, I shared it one night with my supervision friends, and wow, it was a wow moment. And I was then invited to be part of the House of Courage and to share my poem, and which I agreed to do.
Beautiful. So we're now going to ask Reginald Thomas to read his poem called "What Is My Name?"
What is my name? That which I can be. On the beach this morning, I was drawn to a shell, a piece of rock. Then the question, what is my name, emerged. I pondered on the question, stirred in me. I looked at the shell, broken, abandoned, discarded, alone, yet unique, but broken kept surfacing. Then I was drawn to the piece of rock, and again the question, what is my name? Firm, unique, rough. I thought about the actions of the waves and what the shell and the rock would have gone through in arriving on the shore. The question still kept stirring. So like the shell and the rock, I was asked, what is my name? When I'm broken and battered, alone and abandoned, bruised and blistered, crushed and covered, drowning and doubting. When life wounds me, not feeling complete, feeling useless and unloved. What is my name? On the shore to be trodden by the feet of men? What is my name in the midst of it all? Is my name the bruised and battered of the challenges? Is my name the failures and failings that society sees and says? Then I remembered the bruised reed he will not break. Isaiah 42, verse 3. Then the question, what is my name, still persists. I look again at the rock and the shell in my hand. And then I realize that the rock and the shell are now in my hands. And so looking closer and touching them, I realize they were no longer lost. They have been lifted and are now held in my hands. When life happens, when we are crushed and drowned in, we too, like the rock and the shell, can be found and rescued, lifted above the waves, and so experience the greatest miracle of being held and touched, tended, and embraced.
It is so different to hear you speak the words of your own poem and to read it. And the word that just kept coming out to me, particularly at this time and environment in the history of the United States, is that word broken. And then the being held. And it's sort of a hard question maybe, but what can you share with us about, for people that are feeling broken, and then for people that need to do the holding?
What I can share with you is that broken doesn't mean lost. Broken does not mean useless. Broken does not mean that there isn't accomplishment and there isn't value. Brokenness is a need. And I would like to share that in all of our lives, tending is so necessary. Embrace is so powerful, because when we are tended and when we are embraced, that happens in the midst and in spite of the brokenness. And so in this moment, there's so much brokenness and pain. I think my encouragement is for all of us to move along, not to stay in the broken place, but to know that tending, nurturing, and being held is possible. And for each of us to wish to be held. Not only to be held personally, but to hold thoughts of love and caring, and to pass those thoughts of love and caring on, so that we tend the wounds of others by our very presence, by being held ourselves, holding them.
And so much of what you say, not that you need my agreement, but it resonates so deeply with me. And how does courage fit in there? What might you say, what does courage mean to you? And what might you say to people who want to be that embracing person, and they're afraid, or they don't know how to start or where to start? Do you have any, I know that puts pressure on you, but any words of wisdom? How would you frame that for people?
In my framing, I would say just be present, be mindful, be affirming, be attentive, be patient, and be present. Because I think so often we get caught up in doing. And we feel that if we're not doing, then there's no essence. But I have come to know that being attentive, being affirming, being nurturing, and being a voice, picking up my telephone when someone comes to my consciousness and calling, and hearing the words at the other end, how did you know? And know that there was this oneness in the universe which brought that person to mind. And I was just being present with them and to them, with a voice, with a call. I will also say that fear tends to paralyze us, but we should always strive to be present. And when fear and anxiety seems to want to dominate, for us to go to the breath. And in the stillness and in the quietness, to experience the presence and power of the Holy. And to know that that which is constant is also changing. Clouds are constant, but they change every minute. The wind is constant, but sometimes we don't feel it. But it is there. And the essence of our breath is so essential. When we allow for our breath to be strong in the sacred moment, then all of the holy is given to us. And we then have the courage we need to take the next step and the next step, and to go on and to open our arms in an embrace to those who are wounded, battered, lost, and broken.
Thank you so much for your beautiful words, your extraordinary poem, and for being willing to share that in House of Courage and with the community. So thank you again to Reginald Thomas for taking this time, and we look forward to seeing your next submissions in the next House of Book.
Thank you so much, Gresham, and this was such a blessing for me as well.